The stars were quiet. That was what troubled Dr. Lena Carter the most. She sat alone in her small quarters aboard the research station Aetheris, a floating laboratory orbiting Neptune. Outside her window, the endless black stretched on forever, broken only by distant lights, stars that had burned for millions of years and would burn for millions more. But something was wrong. It started with a signal, not loud, not violent, just strange. Lena had been working late when it came through. She was supposed to be off duty, but she stayed behind to check some old data files. Boredom made her curious. Curiosity kept her at her desk. Then the alert came. Unidentified. Transmission detected. Origin, Helios Rift. The message blinked across her screen in red letters. It wasn't urgent, not officially, but Lena knew better than most how rare an unknown signal was. In this part of space, there was nothing. No colonies, no ships, no life, just silence. And now this. She leaned forward, fingers tapping the console as she pulled up the data stream. The signal was weak, fragmented, like it had traveled across time itself. But it wasn't random. There was structure to it. Rhythm, pattern. It was trying to say something. Lena frowned. "This isn't natural," she whispered. She ran it through the translation software. The AI struggled at first, spitting out nonsense words and corrupted symbols, then slowly it began to make sense. Return, home, Earth, awaken, guardian. The words chilled her. Guardian, she muttered. She looked around her. Cramped office. A few books lined the shelves, mostly linguistics texts and old Earth history. Her coffee cup sat half empty beside her keyboard. Everything felt normal. Too normal. But out there, beyond the edge of known space, something was calling. On Earth, deep beneath the surface, another kind of silence ruled. The mountain range in what used to be Colorado stood tall and untouched. Snow covered its peaks. Wind howled through its valleys. Few people lived nearby. Fewer still remembered why. But under the stone and ice, something stirred. The facility had been buried for centuries. Its name was lost to time. Only machines remained inside, ticking away in the dark, waiting for a command that never came. Until now. Deep within a chamber sealed by layers of steel and forgotten code, a single light flickered. Then another. Then, power surged through ancient circuits like blood returning to a sleeping giant. Inside a tall, glass-like pod, a figure lay motionless. Humanoid. Tall. Armored in smooth metal plates fused with flesh. Eyes closed. Breathing slow. Its name had once been spoken with pride and fear. Now no one remembered it. But the system remembered. It scanned the skies above, reaching out to satellites long dead. It searched for threats, for orders, for meaning. Nothing came, except the signal. From far beyond the solar system, the same voice that reached Lena's ears now echoed through the facility's core. Return, home, Earth. Awaken, guardian. The pod hissed, metal groaned, and the eyes opened. Back on Aetheris. Lena couldn't stop looking at the screen. She had sent the signal to Earth hours ago. Now replies were coming in. Most were dismissive. Probably. Interference, a natural cosmic event, ignore and move on. But one response stood out. It came from a man named Daniel Reyes. He worked for the Union of Planetary Sciences Outer Defense Division, a low-level analyst stationed on Luna. His reply was short and to the point. This is not natural. Run. Full spectrum analysis, send me everything. Lena hesitated, then replied, You think it's real? His answer came quickly. I think we should find out before someone else does. She didn't know him well, but she trusted the tone. He sounded serious, concerned, like he already knew something she didn't. She ran the tests again. Scanned for origin points. Tied the signal to other anomalies recorded near the outer planets. Patterns began to form. The signal wasn't just coming from one place. It was spreading. Faint pulses, like echoes bouncing off invisible walls. Someone or something was broadcasting from deep space, and they wanted Earth to hear. Beneath the mountain, the Guardian took its first step outside the pod. Steam rolled across the floor. Alarms blinked, red and green. Systems rebooted one by one. The air was cold, stale, but breathable. The being moved slowly, like waking from a dream too long forgotten. Its armor hummed softly as internal systems powered up. Lights flickered along its limbs. Symbols scrolled across its visor. Memory was slow to return. Names, places, faces, all blurred. But instinct remained. Protect, defend, fight. It stepped forward, scanning the room. Dust coated every surface. Time had passed. How much? Unknown. A console, lit up nearby. Old tech, military grade, still functional. The Guardian reached out, placing a hand against the screen. Data poured in. War, invasion, desperation. Earth under siege. Last hope. Project Aegis. The word struck like lightning. Aegis. That was its name or part of it. The rest would come later. For now, there was movement above. Footsteps. Voices. The world had not forgotten this place entirely. Humans were coming. Above ground, 2 soldiers trudged through the snow. They were part of a small geological survey team assigned to map seismic activity in the region. Routine work. Nothing exciting, but today their instruments picked up something unusual. Vibrations. Deep underground. At first they thought it was a quake. Then the readings spiked. "You seeing this?" asked the younger one, a woman named Rachel Norris. Her breath visible in the cold. "Yeah," said her partner. Mike Delgado. Older, skeptical. "But it's probably just pressure buildup." "Then why's it moving?" They stared at the screen. The tremors weren't random. They followed. A pattern. Like something walking. Mike shook his head. "Let's report it. Maybe they'll send a drone." Rachel nodded, but she didn't look convinced. As they turned back toward camp, the ground shuddered again. Louder this time. Something was down there. And it was waking up. Back on Ithyrus. Lena stared at her latest results. The signal wasn't just broadcasting coordinates. It was pointing to something, to someone, buried beneath Earth, waiting. She swallowed hard. She wasn't sure what she had found, but she knew one thing. This wasn't just a signal. It was a warning, and it had begun. The mountain groaned, snow shifted, ice cracked. The earth trembled as if something deep below was trying to break free. Mike Delgado and Rachel Norris stood frozen, boots sinking into the snow, eyes wide as they stared at the ground beneath them. Then, it happened. A low hum filled the air, like a heartbeat buried under stone. Rachel took a step back. "That's not an earthquake." Mike didn't answer. He was staring at his handheld scanner, watching numbers spike and drop in wild patterns. "This isn't natural," he whispered. From deep within the mountain came a sound, a metallic grinding like gears turning after centuries of silence. Then light, bright, blue, piercing through the rock like a sword. Rachel shielded her eyes. "We need to go. Now." They turned and ran, but the ground split open behind them. A column of energy shot skyward, cutting through clouds and vanishing into space. It was a beacon, and someone, or something, was sending it. Inside the mountain, Aegis stepped forward. The world around him was dark, cold, and still. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. His armor felt stiff, ancient, yet strong. He moved slowly, scanning everything with glowing eyes. The facility was damaged. Power flickered, but life support worked. Systems rebooted piece by piece. He reached out, touching a wall. Symbols lit, up beneath his fingers. Project Aegis Final Defense Protocol. Threat level unknown. Status dormant. That word again, dormant. He had been asleep. For how long? He didn't know. But he remembered this place. Once it had been full of people, scientists, soldiers. Voices echoed off steel walls. Alarms rang. Orders were given. Now, only silence remained. He walked deeper into the facility. Lights came on as he passed. Doors opened. Old machines stirred. He found what he was looking for in a central chamber. Rows of screens blinking and alive. Data poured in. Earth. Year unknown. Population, 9 billion. Military, fragmented. Planets colonized. 6. Threat level, low. Then, a new file appeared. Last known threat, void-born dominion. Status, presumed return. Aegis stopped breathing. Something inside him reacted. Fear? Rage? He didn't understand why, but the name meant danger. He needed answers. He needed to leave. Outside, the military arrived fast. Helicopters thundered through the sky, blades slicing through wind. Soldiers in heavy gear rushed toward the crater, left by the beam. Commander Ellen Brooks led the team. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and didn't believe in myths. What the hell did we just see? She asked over comms. No idea, replied a tech nearby. But whatever it is, it's broadcasting. She looked at the screen. The signal was strong. It wasn't local. It was going somewhere, far away. Secure the site, she ordered. Find the source. They moved in, down into the broken mountain, into the dark, back on Etheris. Lena Carter stared at her console. The signal had changed. It wasn't just coming from space anymore. It was coming from Earth. Oh my God, she whispered. She pulled up satellite data. There it was, an energy spike near the Rocky Mountains. Strong, fast, directed. Someone had responded to the message, and that meant one thing. They weren't alone. She messaged Daniel Reyes again. Something woke up down there. His reply came quickly. Then we better find out what before someone else does. In the heart of the facility, Aegis found a mirror. Not glass. Metal. Polished steel. He stared at his reflection. Tall. Muscular. Armor fused with flesh, eyes glowing blue. Lines of power running through his body like veins of light. He was not human, not fully, but he wasn't a machine either. He touched his face, felt the cold metal beneath his fingers. Who was he? What had he been made for? He scanned himself. Designation Guardian Class Unit, Aegis. Purpose, last line of defense. Primary objective, protect Earth at all costs. That last line hit hard. Protect at all costs. He understood now. He had been built for war, and war was coming. Outside, the soldiers searched. They found the entrance hidden beneath layers of ice and time. They descended into the dark, weapons ready. Commander Brooks led the way. Her heart pounded. This was wrong. Too clean. Too quiet. Then they saw it. A trail of light. Metal footprints. And ahead, movement. A figure. Tall. Armored. Walking toward them. Brooks raised her weapon. Halt, identify yourself. Aegis stopped. He looked at them, humans armed, fearful. He spoke, voice deep and steady. I am Aegis. No one moved. Then one soldier fired. Aegis didn't flinch. The bullet bounced off his armor. Another shot. Then another. He raised his hand. Light surged. A shockwave knocked everyone off their feet. Brooks hit the ground hard. Pain shot through her ribs. She looked up. Aegis stood over her, not attacking, just watching. I do not wish to harm you, he said. Silence. Then she whispered, What are you? I was created to protect this world, he answered, and now I must. Meanwhile, Daniel Reyes sat in his small office on Luna. He watched live feeds from Earth, watched the military move, watched the signal spread. He leaned back, rubbing his face. Then he picked up his phone and dialed a number. Hey, he said when someone answered. It's me, I think we've got a problem. On the other end, a voice replied, What kind of problem? The kind that walks, talks, and glows in the dark. There was a pause. Then, "You're kidding." "Wish I was." Daniel looked out the window at Earth hanging in the black. Something had woken up, and he knew one thing. The galaxy wasn't ready for it. Back in the mountains, Aegis walked. He escaped through tunnels, moving fast, staying hidden. Behind him, alarms blared. Drones launched. Jets screamed overhead. They wanted him, they feared him, but he wasn't their enemy. He needed help. He needed someone who could understand. He remembered the signal, the voice calling from the void. Awaken. Guardian. He followed the energy. Trail. It led to a city. Denver. There he would find someone who could help, or so he hoped. As night fell, Aegis stepped into the city. Lights blinked. People walked. Cars rolled past. No one noticed him at first. Then a child pointed. "Mama, look, it's like a robot." A woman turned, gasped. People began to run. Aegis kept walking. He didn't want fear. He wanted truth, and he would find it, even if the world tried to stop him. Denver was not ready for Aegis. The city buzzed with life. Lights flickered, cars moved slowly through traffic, and people walked the streets without a care. It was late evening, and the sky above was painted in deep blues and soft oranges as the sun set behind the mountains. Then he appeared, tall, armored, glowing faintly like a walking beacon. People stopped. They stared. Some screamed. Aegis kept walking. He had no weapons drawn, no threat shown, but his presence alone was enough to send shockwaves through the crowd. "What is that?" someone whispered. "Is it a robot?" asked another. Then came the sirens. First one, then more. Police vehicles raced toward him, lights flashing, tires screeching. Aegis didn't run. He stood still, watching. From the nearest cruiser stepped out a man in uniform, Captain Jonas Reed, a veteran officer who had seen many strange things in his years on the force, but nothing like this. He raised his hand, signaling his team to hold back. "You," he called out. "Stop right there." Aegis turned his head slightly, scanning the man. Human, male, age 42, fear low, caution high. "I do not wish to harm anyone," Aegis said calmly. Jonas narrowed his eyes. "Then what are you doing here?" "I seek knowledge," Aegis replied. "I am Aegis." There was silence. Then Jonas took a cautious step forward. "All right, Aegis, you're going to have to come with us." "I cannot," Aegis answered. "Not yet." Before anyone could react, he turned and moved quickly down a side street. Sirens blared again. Orders were shouted. The chase began. Elsewhere, in the city, Daniel Reyes sat in a small apartment filled with old tech and scattered papers. His laptop blinked with messages from Aetheris. Lena Carter had been sending updates nonstop. "He's real. He's awake. And he's moving." Daniel rubbed his face. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this so fast. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. It rang once. Then a voice answered. "Hello?" "Hey, Kayla," Daniel said. "It's me, Kayla." Hawkins was an old friend, a former field agent turned private investigator. She knew how to find people, and now she might be the only one who could help Aegis before the government locked him away forever. "You sound worried," she said. "I am," he admitted. "Something woke up. Something big. Like aliens? Bigger." She paused. "Okay, I'm listening. His name is Aegis. He's not human. Not exactly. But he says he was made to protect Earth." "Made? Yes." "You mean like built?" "Yes." Kayla sighed. "Where is he now?" "Denver. Somewhere. Near the East District." "All right," she said. "I'll go look." "Be careful," Daniel warned. "They're already after him." "Since when did that ever stop me?" She hung up. Daniel looked at the screen one last time. "Good luck, Aegis." Back in the city, Aegis ducked into an alley. He moved fast, using the shadows to stay hidden. Behind him, police closed in. Drones hovered overhead, scanning every inch of the area. He needed help. He needed answers. Then he saw her. A woman. Young. Late 20s, wearing a dark jacket, holding a small device in her hand. She wasn't running. She wasn't screaming. She was watching, studying. He recognized the look. Scientist or spy. Maybe both. He approached cautiously. She didn't move. "You're not afraid?" he said. "No," she replied. "Just curious." Her name was Elena Morgan, an independent tech researcher working on AI integration and ancient military systems. She had been tracking unusual energy spikes across the country, and now, standing in front of her, was the source. "I've read about you," she said softly, "or something like you." He just tilted his head. "You know what I am?" "No," she admitted, "but I think I can help you figure it out." Behind them, footsteps grew louder. Elena grabbed his arm. "Come on, we need to go." He followed. Hours later, they reached an old warehouse on the edge of the city. Inside, it was filled with computers, screens, tools, and parts from forgotten machines. Elena powered up a few systems while Aegis stood nearby, watching. She pulled up data files, old, military archives, secret projects, hidden histories. One file caught her eye. Project Aegis. She clicked it open. Text scrolled across the screen. Subject: Guardian Class Unit. Prototype 1. Designation: Aegis. Purpose: Final Defense Protocol against Void-born Dominion. Status: Dormant. She looked at him. "You were created to fight something called the Void-born Dominion." Aegis stepped closer. "What is it?" "We don't know much," she said. "Only that it was feared, and that it never came. Until now." They both turned. At the door stood Kayla Hawkins, gun holstered, eyes sharp. "You must be Aegis," she said. He nodded. "Good. Because we don't have much time." Back on Aetheris, Lena Carter worked fast. She had sent everything she had to Daniel and Elena. Now she was trying to decode the original signal, the one that had started it all. She ran it through multiple filters, slowed it down, enhanced the audio. Then she heard it clearly, not just words. A voice, ancient, powerful, and very far away. "The darkness returns. Earth must awaken, or fall." Lena froze. She replayed it again and again. Then she messaged Daniel. "They're coming." His reply came instantly. "Who?" she typed slowly. "The Void-born Dominion." On Luna, Daniel stared at the message. He felt cold. He had always believed humanity was alone. Now he wasn't so sure. He looked out the window at Earth glowing in the black. Something was coming, and Aegis was the only thing standing between it and the end. The stars were no longer silent. Across the outer colonies, alarms blared. Lights flashed red. Ships scrambled to launch. But it was already too late. The first strike came near Titan. A mining station orbiting Saturn's largest moon exploded in a burst of fire and silence, no warning, no message, just death. Then came the second and the third. Dark ships, massive, jagged, and soulless, appeared at the edges of human space. They moved without sound, without mercy. They were not alone. The Void-born Dominion had returned. On Earth, panic spread like wildfire. Governments issued emergency broadcasts. Citizens fled cities. Military forces mobilized. But there was no plan, no strategy, no enemy to fight. Only fear. In Denver, Aegis watched the news unfold on a cracked screen inside Elena Morgan's warehouse. Images played over and over, colonies burning, ships falling from the sky, people screaming. He turned to Elena. "This is them." She nodded slowly. "Yeah, this is what you were made for." Kayla Hawkins stood nearby, arms crossed. She had seen war before, not like this. "This isn't just an invasion," she said. "It's a purge." Daniel Reyes walked in holding his phone. His face was pale. "They hit Mars," he said. "And Luna. We lost contact with both." Elena looked up. "What about Etheris?" "I don't know," Daniel admitted. "No signal yet." Aegis stepped forward. "We must act." "How?" Kayla asked. "We don't even know how to fight these things." Aegis looked at the screen again, at the dark ships, at the destruction. He reached out, touching the wall beside him. Old tech lit up under his fingers. Data flowed into his mind. Void-born dominion, biological technological hybrid entities. Primary weapon, reality collapse fields. Weakness, core node vulnerability. His eyes glowed brighter. "I know how to stop them." Everyone turned. To him. "You do?" Elena asked. "Yes." "How?" Kayla demanded. "We destroy their command structure," Aegis answered. "We strike at their heart." Daniel shook his head. "You're talking about going behind enemy lines. I am built for it," Aegis replied. Kayla sighed. "Look, I get it. You're some kind of ancient warrior or whatever. But we don't even have a way to get close to one of those ships." Aegis turned to Elena. "Can you build me a beacon?" She blinked. "A what?" "A signal. Strong enough to reach other Guardians." Elena frowned. "Other Guardians?" "You were not the only one created," Aegis said. "There may still be others." Silence filled the room. Then Elena nodded. "Okay, I can try." Days passed in a blur of work and worry. Elena and Daniel worked nonstop, pulling data from old military files, repurposing alien tech, and building something that hadn't existed in centuries. A Guardian beacon. It wasn't much, a small device powered by Aegis's own energy core, but it was enough. On the fourth night they tested it. They took it to the top of an abandoned tower on the edge of the city. Elena connected the final wire. "Ready?" Aegis placed his hand on the device. Light surged, energy pulsed outward in waves, and across the galaxy something answered. One by one, faint signals appeared on Daniel's laptop. Responses, from faraway systems, from deep within enemy space. One word repeated itself. "I remember." Elena gasped. "They're alive." Daniel stared at the screen. "We're not alone." Aegis looked toward the stars. "No," he said quietly. "We never were." Back in space, the war raged. Earth's scattered fleets tried to hold the line, but they were outmatched, outgunned, outnumbered. Commander Ellen Brooks led the defense above Mars. Her ship, the USS Liberty, fired everything it had left. Missiles, lasers, torpedoes. Nothing worked. The Dominion ships absorbed the attacks like raindrops on stone. Brooks gripped the controls. "All units, fall back!" But her comms were filled with static. Then screams. Then silence. She watched as another colony burned, and then through the chaos a voice. "This is Commander Brooks. Is anyone reading me?" There was a pause, then a reply. "This is Guardian Unit Echo 7, I read you." Brooks froze. "Say again?" "I am Echo 7. I remember." She didn't understand. But she didn't care. Hope was back. On Luna, things were worse. Survivors huddled in underground bunkers hiding from Dominion drones. Among them was Lena Carter. She had barely escaped Etheris before it was destroyed. Now she was helping organize refugees, trying to keep people calm. But fear was everywhere. Then her radio crackled. "Lena, it's Daniel. Are you there?" She grabbed the mic. Yes, I'm here." "Good. Listen carefully. We found something. We're activating the beacon now." "The what?" "Just trust me. If anyone hears this, they'll come." She looked around the bunker. People stared at her, waiting for a miracle. Then outside, the ground trembled. Not from bombs, from footsteps. Heavy, slow, powerful. Lena ran to the nearest window and saw it, a figure. Tall, armored, glowing. Another Guardian. Behind it, more figures emerged from the dust. Dozens. Hundreds. All walking toward the enemy. Lena whispered into the mic. They're here. Above Earth, the Dominion fleet prepared for final assault. Their flagship hovered like a black sun, ready to burn the planet below. Then the signal came. A pulse. Strong, ancient, familiar. Inside the command chamber, a being of darkness and light turned its gaze toward the void. It knew. The Guardians had returned and they were angry. The stars were no longer just lights in the sky. They were eyes. Watching. Waiting. And now, they were closing in. Aegis stood on the edge of a broken city, looking up at the night sky. Fires burned in the distance. Smoke rose from fallen ships and shattered buildings. Earth was bleeding, but the Guardians had returned, and with them came hope. Inside a hidden base beneath the ruins of what once was Denver, Elena Morgan worked fast. Her hands flew across the keyboard as she pulled up old maps, enemy fleet data, and anything that might help them understand where the Dominion's command center was hiding. She looked tired. They all did. Daniel Reyes sat nearby, watching her work. He hadn't slept in days. None of them had. Anything? He asked. Elena shook her head. Nothing solid. We know they're close, but we don't know where. Across the room, Kayla Hawkins leaned against a wall, cleaning her sidearm. She didn't look up when she spoke. We need to get inside one of their ships, she said. See what they're hiding. Daniel frowned. You saying we should walk into the lion's den? Kayla smirked. Only way to kill it. Before Daniel could argue, Aegis stepped forward. I will go, he said. Everyone turned to him. You can't go alone, Elena said quickly. Those ships aren't just metal, they're alive. They are not alive, Aegis corrected. They are machines built from fear and pain. I was made to fight them. And you've already done more than anyone else, Daniel added. We can find another way. There is no other way, Aegis replied. If we do not strike at the heart, we will lose everything. Silence filled the room. Then Kayla stood up. I'm going with you. No, Daniel said. You're not. Yes, I am. Elena looked between them. This is insane. It's the only chance we have, Aegis said calmly. Hours later, they boarded a stolen Dominion dropship. It wasn't much, black metal, cold seats, and barely functional, but it was enough to get them close. Aegis sat near the front, his glowing eyes scanning every system. He understood this ship better than any of them. It was similar to the tech buried deep within his own armor. Behind him, Kayla checked her gear. She carried a small EMP device, a few grenades, and a pistol she hoped wouldn't jam. Daniel sat beside Elena, who held a portable scanner. You sure this thing will work? He asked. If the Dominion has a central node, she said, this will find it. Daniel nodded. Then let's hope it does. Outside the window, the stars grew darker, and then they saw it. A massive black ship floated in space like a shadow, given form. No windows, no lights, just endless void. That's it, Elena whispered. The Dominion flagship. Aegis stood. Prepare for entry. The dropship shuddered as it docked. No alarms sounded. No guards waited. It was too quiet, too easy. They stepped inside. The air was cold. Metal walls pulsed faintly like veins under skin. The floor hummed beneath their feet. This place feels wrong, Kayla muttered. It is wrong, Aegis said. It feeds on fear. They moved carefully through the halls. Every step echoed. Every breath felt louder than it should. Then they found it, a chamber unlike anything they had ever seen. Massive, dark, filled with floating cores of energy, glowing. Orbs connected by thin strands of light. At the center, a throne-like structure hovered in midair. On it sat something that was neither man nor machine, a being of darkness. Its voice came without sound. You return, but you are too late. The end has begun. Aegis stepped forward. You will not take this world. The figure tilted its head. You were created to stop us, but you failed. Aegis clenched his fists. Not again. The being raised a hand. Suddenly the walls came alive. Tendrils of dark energy shot toward them. Aegis reacted first. He moved faster than the eye could follow, knocking the attacks aside with glowing fists. Kayla fired her gun, but the bullets vanished before hitting the creature. Daniel grabbed Elena. "We need to move." They ran deeper into the ship, dodging falling debris and bursts of dark fire. Aegis stayed behind, fighting, slashing through the tendrils with beams of blue light that erupted from his arms. He reached out, touching one of the glowing cores. Data flooded his mind. Core node, central command. Weakness, overload sequence. He turned to the others. "I must stay." "What?" Elena gasped. "There is a way to destroy this ship," Aegis said, "but I must trigger it from here." "You'll die," Daniel shouted. "Perhaps." Kayla stepped forward. "I'll stay with him." "No," Daniel yelled. "You don't even know what you're doing." "I know enough," she said. "Someone needs to make sure this works." Elena grabbed Aegis's arm. "Please, don't do this." He looked at her. Humans are not meant to fight alone. Then he turned back to the core. Energy surged around him. "I remember," he whispered. Then he slammed his fist into the core. Light exploded. Back on Earth, Lena Carter watched the sky. From the underground bunker, she stared at the screen, and then a flash, a pulse. The signal spread across the galaxy. One word repeated itself over and over. "I remember." Lena smiled through tears. "They're waking up." In orbit above Mars, Commander Ellen Brooks watched the Dominion fleet freeze mid-attack. Ships stopped moving. Weapons powered down. Then, one by one, they exploded. She blinked. "What the hell just happened?" Her comms crackled. "Commander, this is Guardian Unit Echo 7. The core has been destroyed." She exhaled sharply. "Then we won." "Not yet. But the tide has turned." Back in the ruined city, Elena, Daniel, and the others emerged from the wreckage. Smoke filled the air. Silence followed. Then footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Aegis walked toward them, barely standing. Armor cracked. Glowing eyes dim. Kayla was gone. But he was alive. Elena ran to him. "You did it." Aegis looked at her. "No, we did." He fell to one knee, exhausted, broken, but still standing, because that was what he was made for, to protect, to fight, to rise, even in the darkest of times. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. Across the stars, Dominion fleets collapsed. Their command structure shattered. Their ships drifted lifeless in space like broken husks. On Earth, survivors emerged from hiding. Cities that had burned began to rebuild. The sky, once filled with fear and fire, now held the promise of peace. And at the center of it all stood Aegis. He stood on a hill outside what remained of Denver, watching the sunrise stretch across the horizon. His armor was cracked. His systems were low. He could feel the weight of time pressing down on him. He had done what he was made for. Now he wondered, what came next? Behind him, Elena Morgan approached. She carried a small data pad, her face tired but hopeful. "They're calling you a hero," she said. Aegis didn't look at her. "I was not built for glory." "I know," she replied. "But people need something to believe in." He turned to her then. His glowing eyes dimmed, showing something more than just machine, something human. "I do not belong here," he said softly. Elena looked away. She had known this moment would come. "Where will you go?" she asked. "To sleep," he answered. "Until I am needed again." She nodded slowly. "You don't have to leave right away." He looked back at the city below. People moved through the ruins, helping each other. Children laughed despite everything. Life went on. "No," he said. "I do not." In the weeks that followed, Humanity began to heal. Governments reformed. Colonies sent word that they were safe. Refugees returned home. Commander Ellen Brooks oversaw the rebuilding of Earth's defense forces, not as an army waiting for war, but as a shield to protect what remained. Lena Carter worked with scientists across the solar system to understand what had happened. She helped preserve the records of the Guardians, ensuring their sacrifice would never be forgotten. Daniel Reyes traveled to Luna, where he helped organize efforts to restore communication between planets. He kept in touch with Elena, checking in whenever he could, and Kayla Hawkins. No one ever found her body. But in every message broadcast across the stars, in every signal sent from one world to another, one phrase echoed louder than any other. We remember. Back in Denver, Aegis walked through the streets. People watched him, some in awe, others in silence. He no longer wore his full armor. It was too heavy, too foreign for everyday life. Now he wore simple clothes, blending in as best he could. He visited the old warehouse where it had all begun, where Elena had first helped him understand who he was. Inside, she waited. "You're really leaving," she said. He nodded. "Soon." She crossed her arms. "And what if we need you again?" "Then I will return." She sighed. "You make it sound so easy." "It is not," he admitted. "But it is necessary." There was a long pause. Then she stepped forward and hugged him. It was awkward, unexpected, but real. Aegis hesitated, then gently returned the gesture. "I'll miss you," she whispered. "I know," he said. Then he let go, and without another word, he walked out the door, into the unknown. Years passed. Humanity grew stronger. They reached farther into space than ever before. Not as conquerors, but as explorers, as builders, as guardians of their own fate. On Mars, a statue was built. Tall, silent, glowing faintly in the red dust. It showed a lone figure standing between Earth and the stars. At its base, a plaque read, "Here stood a guardian. But we were the warriors." Children learned his name in school. Pilots whispered his name before launching into deep space. Soldiers trained with stories of his strength. He became legend, not because he asked for it, but because he earned it. In a quiet part of the galaxy, far beyond the edge of human space, something stirred. Deep beneath the surface of a frozen moon, buried under layers of ice and stone, a light flickered, then another. Then power surged through ancient circuits. A pod opened. Metal groaned, and eyes opened. Another guardian had awoken. Somewhere out there the darkness might return, but so would the light. Because humanity had learned something important. They were not alone, and they would never fall again.